Okay. It's 5:30, so I'm going to call to order the regular Planning Commission meeting. Today is June 3rd, 2025, and it's 5:30 p.m. The land that we know as Sequim was once inhabited solely by First Peoples known as the S'Klallam people, represented by the three tribal governments, Lower Elwha S'Klallam, Jamestown S'Klallam, and Port Gamble S'Klallam. We serve as stewards of the land within the city of Sequim, and with the same care and consideration the S'Klallam tribes have and continue to provide. This acknowledgement is a respect to the S'Klallam people and their history. The Planning Commission serves as an advisory body to the City Council. The purpose of the Planning Commission is to provide guidance and direction for Sequim's future growth through continued review and improvement to Sequim's comprehensive plan, zoning code, shoreline management, environmental protection, and related land use documents. The Planning Commission will have all of the powers and perform each and all of the duties specified by Chapter 35A.63 RCW as amended and set forth or amended by ordinance. Roll call. Emily, will you please take roll call?
Absolutely. Commissioner Kuntz.
Present.
Commissioner Cummings.
Here.
Commissioner Fain. Commissioner Hewitt.
Present.
Commissioner LaFever. Commissioner Mahalik.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Approval of minutes. This will be for the minutes of the regular meeting that was held on May 20th, 2025. Have the commissioners had a chance to read the minutes, and are there any corrections or comments? Okay, and I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Thank you. All those in favor of approving the minutes for the May 20th meeting, please raise your hand. Okay. Any opposed? Okay, minutes stand approved. Thank you. Public comment. General public comment will be heard at this time. Each person is limited to 3 minutes. There are no public hearing topics tonight. So this is the time of the meeting that if there's anybody in the public that would like to make public comment for anything, this is the time. Is there anybody in the room that would like to provide public comment?
I have Teresa on the list first.
Okay.
Okay, she's not here. Yes. Yes.
Okay, come on up, Teresa. And when you get to the microphone, if you could say your name, it would be appreciated.
Thank you. My name is Teresa Miller, Sequim, Washington. And this is my first meeting, so thank you for having us. So my question, I do have a comment, I guess, on the agenda item cover sheet that I was reading that I downloaded. Recommended action. It says staff recommend a review of the growth-related elements of the proposed TIP to ensure conformity with the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan. So we have two boxes where it says a public hearing, A, is required for this item, and the other box says it is not required for this item. It is checked that it is not required for this item. And then below it, it says there's a motion, and I understand how motions work. It says, I move to approve the conformity of the proposed 2026 through 2031 Transportation Improvement Program, TIP, to the comprehensive plan, and I'm familiar with the comprehensive plan, and further recommend that the City Council review the TIP as submitted and proceed to schedule it for public hearing at City Council. So my question is, who made the motion? And second, was there a second to that motion?
No motion has been made at this at this time. That is a suggested format if we decide to move the TIP to the city council, which sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we look for review.
Okay.
And there will be a public hearing on this, but it's not required tonight.
Okay.
We're not at that phase yet.
We're not at that level.
Right.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else in the room that would like to provide public comment at this time? Okay, and is there anybody online, Emily, that would like to provide public comment?
No one online.
Okay, thank you. So then at this time, I will close the public comment section of this meeting, and we are going to move on to the first letter of general business A, which is the council proposal for addition to Sequim Municipal Code 2.36. And I do see that Christina is the presenter, and I know that she will be a little bit late. So I propose to the commission that we move on to the comprehensive plan update if Carla is ready, if the commission is okay with that. And then after the comprehensive plan update, then if Christina's here, we'll move back. Everybody good with that?
Good.
Okay. So comprehensive plan status update. Welcome, Carla.
Thank you. Thank you, Planning Commission. So as we discussed at our last meeting, we'll have this status update memo and standing agenda item as we're going through the comprehensive plan update. And so in your packet was our latest memo. And there was just a couple things that I won't go over all of them, but happy to answer any questions if you have them. But I did want to note a couple things have happened since we sent out the memo even last week. And that is just on your second page of the memo under the comprehensive plan related work that we regarding Leland Consulting and getting them under contract for the land capacity analysis, housing needs assessment, and then the economic and housing market studies. That contract was signed yesterday. So we are under contract with Leland and we'll be scheduling our kickoff meeting and getting going with them directly. And the first order of business with them will be working on the land capacity analysis and providing the most up-to-date and accurate technical information that we will give them so that they can start that process. Then the update on the grants that the city received last year to support the comprehensive plan work. I was able to just yesterday turn in our second to the last deliverable for our commerce planning update grant. So we only have one more left to go, but this was the big one to get that in. So that deliverable was turned in. And then today I turned in the last deliverable for the climate planning grant. So at the end, we only have one more left to go. It's due next Friday. But the good news is we're on track and we will receive all of the state funding that was allocated for SQUIM, but was deliverable based for the comprehensive plan update. Then I wanted to just also note a couple other boards that I will be attending in support of the comprehensive plan. So we'll be presenting actually the chapter that you'll be reviewing tonight, the community character. After talking to the Parks and Arts manager, Hannah believed that the SQUIM Arts Commission might be interested in some of the components of that chapter. As you probably saw in your review that we will talk about tonight, there's some beautification and public art policies that are in there. So I'll be going to them later this month on June 23rd. We'll be attending the Parks Harbor Recreation Board for their second review of the Parks and Open Space chapter. the 16th, and that is scheduled to come before you on July 1st, assuming that the PARB board is completed with their review next week. So I'll keep you posted on that. But I do have another chapter that I can slide in on the 1st if they want to spend a little bit more time with it so that we can keep our momentum going. And then the client, which is the draft climate and resiliency chapter, that chapter got wrapped up today, and it will be sent. We'll be reviewing it with the internal staff sustainability committee next week. And so depending on how that goes, should be able to bring that forward to the planning commission a little bit earlier than the schedule that's in your status memo. So that is my updates for you on the progress of the comprehensive plan. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Carla. Do we have any questions from the commission? No? Eileen?
I just want to say thank you
Yeah.
to you and all the staff for not only getting us on track, but keeping us there and moving forward. This has been a huge endeavor, and I'm sure it'll be nice to catch your breath when it's all done.
Yes, definitely.
So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Carla. Okay. Well, I still don't see Christina, and
On to
I-
the tip.
Hmm?
Move on to the tip.
yeah. So I think that we'll go ahead and move on to the transportation improvement plan. If we are ready to present.
Good evening. For purposes of the record, and it seems like it's been a while since I've been in front of you guys, my name is Nick Dosty. I am the city engineer and deputy director of Public Works. I am responsible for operating, maintaining, and executing the capital improvement program and transportation improvement program for the city of Sequim, as well as maintaining design standards and development standards for residential, commercial, and industrial development inside city limits and the UGA. With that being said, in front of you tonight, you have the Transportation Improvement Program. And before we dive into this, I'd kind of just like to give an update on what we were able to accomplish last year, and then go into what to expect in 26-27 specifically. I will not be addressing the full transportation improvement program tonight, as you look at the 6-year program in entirety. When you go outside of the immediate 26-27, anything that isn't identified as city funded is funding dependent. So a project that might be identified in the later years, 28, 29, 30, and 31, if you do not see the prefix of citywide in front of it, then it is not city funded, meaning that we either need to identify funding, or we've identified funding and we need to apply for it. And so the projects we see in 26-27 have secured funding, or we've identified the funding, and that's what we'll be going through tonight. So this is an update, and that means that we've taken some projects off of the list. The two major accomplishments that were completed last year was the North Sequim Ave overlay between Washington and essentially Daytona, which is just north of the condominiums on the east side of North Sequim Ave, or I guess another way to think of it is we did an overlay from Washington to the southern limit of Lavender Meadows there. And then from that same point north to the roundabout, we did our pedestrian and bike improvement. So we widened North Sequim Ave just a little bit to put in a bike lane. We did stormwater improvements. We added ADA compliant sidewalk and ramps. We also realigned the approaches to the roundabout. We didn't widen the roundabout, but we adjusted the chicanes a little bit to make the approaches a little more tangential, to make navigation around a little easier. We provided sidewalks. We also provided pedestrian level street lighting and traffic level street lighting on the roundabout and on the west side of North Squim Ave. And so we're really proud of those two projects. So not only do we have pedestrian access all the way from Washington to the roundabout there at the Squim Dungeness Way Old Olympic intersection, but we have bike accessibility, and we also have a brand new road on that total stretch from Washington to that roundabout. So traffic-wise, transportation-wise, stormwater-wise, those were two very big projects for us. Also, kind of a completion of a project, but an ongoing effort is our city signals. So there's new cameras that were installed in 23-24. We are currently working on refining and vetting our signal timing and queuing. The overall accomplishment of the signal project spanning between 23 and 24 was brand new cameras and control units in the cabinets that allowed coordination of those signals on the Washington corridor, which basically means that whether you're heading east or west, hitting a green light at Squim Ave or at 7th heading east or west means you will see green lights all the way through town, assuming you're going the speed limit. So previously, none of the traffic signals were coordinated. They were all on their own timer. They weren't synced or anything like that. So depending on how the traffic was that day, you could hit every red light, you could hit one green light or intermittent green lights. So we're in the process of refining that now. I'm sure some people have had some heartache over the past few months, but we're refining that with the consultant, and I'll kind of go through what the next steps look like in this program here coming. I would just like to publicly give some flowers to Miss Carla. Her stepping in and not only taking over the comp plan, but working with my team and the development team has really allowed us to do some really good work. Myself, but for the DCD team. And so, I don't want to be dramatic and say she's a breath of fresh air, but her expertise is definitely appreciated. And from what I've seen, we are very lucky to have her on board. So if Christina was here, I would also give her props for convincing her to come and help us out. But I just want to put a feather in the cap there that I think she's a great addition to our team. So thank you.
Thank you.
So diving into our improvement plan here, the first two things I would like to draw attention to you are conveniently projects number 1 and 2. So on the previous CIPs and TIPs, we had one pavement rehab. This year and moving forward, the decision was made to actually split those rehabs into 2. You'll notice that there's an arterials and collectors, which is about 3 times less than the local rehab project. A split was made because after talking with our maintenance crews about how they would like to see the roads better maintained, whether it's crack sealing, striping, potholing, drainage, things like that, the very broad question came up about why aren't we addressing our local streets better, our neighborhood streets? It seems like we're really focusing on Washington, on Squim Ave, maybe Hendrickson, but the quality of streets and the longevity of the asphalt in our neighborhoods seems to be being ignored. So, and that's a great question. So in an effort to address their concern and provide some more support for our maintenance team, I decided to split these into arterials and locals. And the decision was made for our local streets that the citywide funding, at this point, we would look into a chip sealing program. So the consistent, and this is escalated with an inflation factor of essentially 300,000 is where it started for this year, is looking into mitigation and remediation measures like chip seal or slurry seal to address our local and neighborhood streets as a cost-effective way to provide a better ride and increase the longevity of the asphalt. Looking up at Project 1, citywide pavement preservation for arterials and collectors, again, that's significantly less. What we do have access to is through the county is STBG, and I can't quite remember. I think it's Safety Transportation Block Grant, but that is a very consistent source of state money that we as a city have access to, that the county is responsible for delegating. And the lower amount, you can see 123, 125, 131, again, escalated for inflation. Those are actually match funds for the state funding. So that 123,000 can actually turn into 500,000 or 700,000, depending on the scope of the project, pursuing that STBG money, that block grant money. So we get a little bit more bang for our buck. It's not necessarily guaranteed per se, but consistently ever since I've been here and prior to me, my predecessors, when we've applied, we've gotten the money. And so it's just our responsibility to plan our projects, to have things queued up, to be shovel ready, as they say. So when we go to the county and say, yep, like this year, we're going to be spending close to $2 million of that money to say we have projects, they qualify for the STBG grant, they're designed in-house, they're ready to go, we're ready to jump on it as soon as you guys release the money. That helps them out because then they don't have to go back to WashDOT and say, hey, sorry, we weren't able to obligate this, which then means WashDOT takes that money back and it is taken out of our area, and we don't want to see that. So that was a pretty big change. I'm excited to deploy that. You can see in the later years, more money is put 29, 30. So we're going to be testing the consistency of the STBG funds 26, 27 into 28. I'm fairly confident we're going to be able to push this through with consistent match funds. But, you know, hope for the best, plan for the worst. That's why you see the very small amounts there. And then the larger amounts, that would indicate that if the plan doesn't work, the city would come in so we can maintain our arterials with city money.
Eileen has a question.
Mhm.
So those block grants, what is the timeline on that? Is that like renewed every 4 years from the state?
2 years.
2 years?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep. It's a biennium
okay,
line item, I believe. Yeah.
okay. Fresh money every 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the next thing I'd like to point out here is Project 15. So that's a very large project. You can see the cost estimate is in the thousands, right? So we have a $4.7 million project, 26-27. Reason I would like to call this plan out is something else we accomplished in 24 was the drafting of 2 traffic plans. The first one, the local road safety plan, that was put together through a joint effort of the city and a consultant. The local road safety plan is a data-driven safety plan that takes the 5-year crash data that is collected by WashDOT, state and local police jurisdictions, and a plan is developed to address the different collisions that occur on the state highway and on the local collectors and arterials and other streets. So that local road safety plan was created. And then from that local road safety plan, we created what's known as the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan. So this is the next step of a safety plan that opens up the Safe Streets for All funding source. So that's a new-ish, new to the city and new to everyone else by a couple years. but it's Safe Streets for All is a, I guess you could say, larger pot of money where the minimum project amount, I believe, is $2.5 million. So your project has to be $2.5 million or more, and you have to have this plan in order to qualify to submit an application. So the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan, or CSAP, takes the local road safety plan and dives a little bit further by doing public involvement and doing an equity analysis of the city limits, within the city limits and within the UGA. We're in the middle of our transportation master plan. We're also in the middle of our comprehensive plan, and we have this CSAP. All three of those documents require public outreach. So we were able to coordinate an effort, save a little bit of money, public outreach via a survey that helped not only our transportation master plan, went into the comp plan, also went into this CSAP to reach out to the public to say, what are you concerned about? What do you want to see improved? What do we lack? What do we do well? What do we not do so well? Much like the surveys we do for the city when we go out to the residents or the business, get feedback from the public. We also participated in an open house with the comp plan folks under the transportation element of the master plan, comp plan, and this. So there's multiple avenues of outreach that were done to the public to better vet this, not only the data-driven safety, but what the public and what the constituents want to see. And then there's the equity aspect. The city maintains what's known as a Title VI plan. That's a requirement for funding, and it does an equity analysis based on income, age, English second language, things like that. That is a data-driven, mostly based off the census, but that's another aspect of what goes into this CSAP. So I say all that to say this project here, Project 15, North 3rd Avenue Complete Street, came as the most recommended for the Safe Streets for All. And what that does is improves North 3rd Ave between Washington and Fur to better align with the pedestrian and safety components and access you see on West Fur, that complete streets safety, and puts it on that North 3rd corridor. That is step one, or phase one, in several phases of extending those complete street safety standards all the way down South 3rd, so you have a safe streets or safe routes to schools, because it qualifies for both, corridor through the heart of town right to the school campus. So that's again a $4.7 million effort, and it's a phase one. We're fairly confident we're going to be able to get that funding. We had previously applied last year for safe routes to schools. We did meet the threshold of we made it past the cut line. It just so happened that the projects prior to us on the list needed a little bit more money than had originally anticipated. So while we met the project list cut line, financially, they didn't have any money for us. So plan B, safe streets for all. And we're fairly confident that we'll score pretty good on this application. So the reason I wanted to point that out, it's continuity with the complete streets on West Fur. It kind of plays into the project 4 there, improvement, which is East Fur Street rehabilitation, which again would be an east-west extension of West Fur under that complete street safety standard as well. And so we're really looking to improve that corridor in between the park and the school, and having safe pedestrian and bike access for kids getting, on the portion of 3rd that's north of the highway, but even more so extending south of the highway to those residences on the other side there. And then lastly here, just as a highlight, I'd like to point out that project number 67 for citywide projects, citywide pedestrian/bike improvements. We have identified that again, city-funded source, to be best used, again, as a match opportunity. And the perfect example of that is a contract we will be executing here shortly, where we use that $155,000 to gain access to over $700,000 to rebuild and reconstruct 62 ADA ramps in our city to be ADA compliant. So we're really looking forward to coordinating that match money with TIB to start hammering away at our ADA transition plan and getting the city more in line in transitioning to ADA compliance in the long run. So that's the highlights. More than happy to answer any questions, concerns that you may have on the TIP. Thank you.
Thanks. Can you touch a little bit on project number 24, the Keeler Road multi-use path? What you anticipate that's going to kind of look like?
Yeah, so that is one of the 3 RAISE grant projects. And so what we'll be doing is we'll be looking at, it's a little bit of a feasibility study, a little bit of a design about providing an alternate route or a relief or an alternate connection to the ODT from West Squim Bay through Keeler Road. There's also, I can't remember what project, so you see the West Squim Bay right under that, asphalt trail. So this Keeler Road will be kind of phase 1, step 1 to connect to the ODT. And then you can see there in the outer years, which indicates funding dependent, that once we have that ODT access to the north-south, what does it look like to get people from the east of Keeler and the west of Keeler to the ODT from there?
Okay, thank you.
ODT, I presume, is Old Discovery Trail.
Olympic Discovery
Olympic.
Trail. Sorry. Yep.
Okay. And can I?
Yeah.
On 56, I noticed that this intersection isn't even slated until 2031.
Brown.
That's by Les Schwab. It's that funky intersection that people complained of for so long.
So,
Wouldn't that qualify under a safety program also? I don't know about the number of accidents or anything, but it is rather a thorn in people's side.
I would agree that the presence of a thorn is there, but the presence of the thorn doesn't necessarily equate to a direct safety concern. Now, I would need to look at the local road safety plan and the CSAP to see, what. Let me take a step back. The 2 plans are very much collision driven, right? It's collision driven data. So while there may be a lot of close calls, the sight distance might not be the best, the approach might need work. Unless there are collisions there, then it wouldn't come up in the assessment. Now, where it would come up would be the public outreach, right? Someone saying, well, hey, this intersection stinks. What are we going to do about it? So that would be what I would look at would be the comments we got both on the survey and at the open house. Now, as far as that intersection specifically, we do recognize that it's not the best intersection when you look at the alignment. Where it falls on the priority, I don't know off the top of my head. I can look into that. But it is also, I believe, and it didn't make it on this plan because we just recently got notified of our award of, I believe, what's called the Sandy Williams grant for a feasibility study for East Washington. I believe that's in the area of 475,000. I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but it does, I believe, span from Brown all the way to Simdars, and we'll be performing intersection studies on Brown, Blake, West Squim Bay, and I believe Rotifer on that stretch for opportunities for improvement.
Not to be the institutional memory, but for the last 10 years, it has been commented about in commission setting.
Mhm.
So I was just surprised that it's so far down. But thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Eileen?
So you talked about several grant and match opportunities. Are any of these federal sources, or is it mostly state? And I think there might be a little disruption of federal money, but
That is a good question, and that is a concern. These, I believe, are state funds, so a little bit more secure. The reason I say that is the consultant we're working with on our application has given us no indication that the actual pool of funds that we're applying for would be in jeopardy. To give perspective, there has been a lot of conversation on our RAISE grant, which is federally funded. And the group, we are one of, I believe, 16 participants in this RAISE grant. And that is a very active conversation about where that money is, how secure it is. Those conversations haven't happened with Safe Streets for All. So while I haven't asked the question outright, it would have, I believe it would have come up going through this process so far.
okay, thanks.
Just kind of a follow on to that. If the funds for some reason aren't there, you have contingent plans, meaning we're going to defer certain projects, or you had mentioned get funding from the city itself.
Mhm.
Correct?
Yes. So luckily, with transportation specifically, there's quite a few opportunities for very dedicated transportation funds. One of them being Transportation Improvement Board. So we have a very good working relationship with them. And so, as an example, should Safe Streets for All not pan out this year, we would be looking to go to TIB this same year to get some design money to better prepare for a better Safe Routes to School application next year. And so that's just one opportunity. The STBG that I mentioned before, that is state funded. So while that is smaller scale for smaller scale projects, yeah, it is state funded, so it is a little bit more reliable. When you're on the amount exceeding, or you're approaching the $3 to $4 million level, unfortunately, federal really is the only door you can walk through, unless you're looking to compile or composite multiple state funding sources, which can be very difficult. We've done it before. Example being North Squim Ave Ped Bike. It does complicate the project. The administrative and project management does become cumbersome, so it's not preferred. So we identified Safe Routes to School last year. Like I said, we scored very high. That's why we're pushing very hard for this Safe Streets for All. Another reason we think we're a good candidate for the Safe Streets for All is we are among a very small number of folks that already have an adopted comprehensive safety action plan. Most other applicants are looking to get planning funding to do their own. That is then tied to a demonstration project. We've invested the time and the money on our own to get that planning taken care of. And now what we're applying for is our demonstration funding. So we've set ourselves up to be very appealing in the application process. And I'm feeling pretty good about the application.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Alex.
Number 41 from West Squim Bay Road, pedestrian improvements at East Washington Street.
Mhm.
There's still no safe way to cross West Squim Bay Road. They're following the pedestrian path.
Correct.
You're in the middle of a curve of people going pretty fast, coming down at, I guess. I see it's pushed off to 2031.
That's
I guess because no pedestrians been hit there or something, or no collision. can't register higher on the score for
I-
getting done? Or?
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
But what I can say is the Sandy Williams grant that I mentioned earlier,
Yes.
and the intersection control evaluation or ICE, will be looking into this intersection. So, pedestrian access is one, multimodal access is another, ADA considerations is another. So, yes, historically that has been a problem. And much like Brown, right, something that's been brought up multiple times, whether it's through commission, council, or otherwise notified by the public. And so to set ourselves up for success moving forward, showing that we've gone through an engineering value evaluation to say this intersection has been evaluated. This is the level of service that was previously recorded for the transportation master plan. This is the information from our local road safety plan and CSAP that's been adopted by city council. And then, this is the analysis that's been done now, building up the case to then go back to either WashDOT or TIB or this Sandy Williams fund to say, hey, this is the study that we've produced showing the concerns of the safety of this intersection, pedestrian, multimodal vehicle, addressing those. And this is our proposed solution. Now we need the construction money for it, or the design and construction money, depending on how we fill out the application.
Okay. Well,
So I
Thank you.
say
Yes.
all that to
Yes.
say it does show it in 2031.
yes.
And again, this was put together prior to us knowing that we were going to be receiving an award letter. So a portion of that would be kicked
Oh,
to end of this year, 26, meaning that we would then be able to have access to apply for construction money.
okay. Okay. Thank you. Also, that intersection, as you drive east on Washington Street to make the turn at night, have you ever, I don't know if you drive around town at night much, it's really hard to see where it is with the lighting.
the West
to
Squim
West
Bay
Squim
Road?
Bay Road, yes. And anyway, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Does anybody else have any questions? I do have one, and I think that I know the answer, but I'm just hoping you'll confirm. So the Cindars Road intersection, I know that there's been a lot of talk about revamping that.
Mhm.
And I don't see it on here. I'm assuming that that is more federal funded driven, and that's why we're not seeing it on here. So, and I know that I've heard that it's been put off. So I'm just wondering if somehow that changes, if that will affect this at all.
So I will give the very broad, frustrating answer of yes, and then try to dive into a little bit more detail and context here. So the original biennium funding has been pulled, but it hasn't been taken away. So the original timeline that we were provided by the legislature and the WashDOT is no longer applicable. I can't remember when it was bumped to. I don't know if Christina. So instead of 25, 27, if it's 6 years, it sounds like it would be 31, 33.
Okay.
So that has forced us to kind of reshuffle our approach and reprioritize, and that does put it in the further outer years as far as that funding and having access to it. It is still the plan that when the funding is available, City of Sequim would like to sit in the control seat, managing consultants to get the project off the ground. We've done the legwork, Paul and myself, to get WashDOT to agree that Sequim can acquire and maintain a consultant to get the preliminary work done up to 30%. We're talking environmental, archaeological, cost estimate for the Cindars intersection itself, the interchange. So unfortunately, that's how the dominoes fell because of the deficit the state is facing and the deadline for the fish passage. We're not very well. I don't want to speak out of turn because I don't speak to our lobbyist, but since it was moved to 31, and it's so far out, whether the money will be there or not is kind of where we're curious. So,
Okay.
and to be optimistic, again, it's not taken. We'll be like the Army and hurry up and wait, and go from there.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Does the commission have any more questions at all?
So I do have one last comment just to maybe address more of what this woman brought up. So typically, we would come to Planning Commission. This would be considered first touch, public hearing. Then we would go to City Council for first touch, public hearing there. Public Works is revamping, I guess you could say, the way the CIP is handled and brought to council. So the CIP, which then kind of translates to the TIP, the CIP will be brought to council as a budget item this year in November.
Okay.
What that means for the TIP is doing some vetting of the process. The requirement for July 1 adoption requires one public hearing. So the thought was bring the TIP as it stands now to you guys, to the Planning Commission, to review and make comments. We would then bring those comments to City Council for that first touch there, at which case then we would schedule the public hearing, the one required public hearing through City Council at the following City Council meeting at the end of the month, to which then we would carry over any recommendations you have, any changes City Council would want to see to be able to adopt the document come July 1. Once we have that official document, we would go to the Regional Transportation Improvement Program, update that as necessary for the projects we're looking to do in 26-27, which would then update our State Transportation Improvement Program. So that's the process we're diving into this year, and we'll see what the feedback is. But we're doing our best in the background to streamline the process, to make the opportunity for comments as condensed as possible, but as easy as possible. And so with only bringing the transportation plan to you guys, instead of trying to do both, provide a little bit more time to have a dialogue, have review. That way it's not just a whole Britannica encyclopedia of numbers and words heading your way, trying to make sense of it all.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Any comments at all from the commission? Concerns or anything? Okay. The only comment that I have is just about item 24, the Keeler Road multi-use path down to West Squim Bay, and then 2025, item 25, which is pushed out a little bit, which is the West Squim Bay asphalt trail.
Mm-hmm.
One thing to consider from somebody who uses the ODT, that section quite frequently, probably at least once a week. And then I do have family that has lived on Keeler Road. So I love the idea of having the access, because sometimes when we are bored of running the same route all the time, we will go down to West Squim Bay Road. But once you get down there, there's just not a lot of shoulder. There's a lot of blind corners. And so if you are going to be making the commitment to connect the two, maybe look at being able to prioritize the West Squim Bay asphalt trail shortly after, so it's not 5 or 6 years. That's my only, because I know that once that access is there, people are going to want to use it on Keeler Road down to West Squim Bay. So that's just as a frequent user, that's my input. And then I love the 3rd Avenue, complete streets I have 3 children that walked those 2 blocks up here to Cedar Street for most of their schooling career before we moved out of the city. And that is definitely a much needed project.
Mhm.
So that's all I have. Anything else? Anybody? Yes, Alex.
On the Keeler Road improvement, the road for serving Cedar Ridge and that whole area, it's really narrow as you turn south onto Keeler Road from West Quimby Road. But will it be so by putting in a bike path on? Will it be wider? Will you be widening the pavement? But especially between West Quimby Road and say Lofgren Road in there.
So I can peel back the curtain a little bit on that since we're doing some work on it now. So the money that we have through the RAISE grant is a feasibility and design.
Oh.
So part of that process to address Ms. Kuntz's concern is what does it connect to? Where does it go?
Mm-hmm.
Right? What's the path? Because the phrase "a sidewalk to nowhere" comes to mind, right? So that plays into the planning, right? The scheduling of that project, not just the design. So that there's an aspect of that when we talk about feasibility. Now, when we get into the design, one of the considerations would be, well, would the best approach be to have an attached trail, much like an extended shoulder that you see on South 3rd there by Gearhart Park, where there's a delineated fog line and a 4 or 5 foot paved shoulder, or would a detached trail make more sense? And so we'll work through that. Things like, what's the right of way look like? Is it wide enough to have a detached? Do we need to have an attached? If we don't have enough right of way for either, what does that acquisition look like? Do we need only an additional 5 feet for an attached or an additional 15 feet to have a detached? That all goes into the decision-making process about what drives the design. So we'll get all those questions answered through that process. But step 1 is just being able to have access to the resources to run through those design decisions, to be able to come up with a preliminary estimate to then go for either completion of design, which we have enough money to do that. So in this case, we will go for construction money through RAISE, hopefully, because if they gave us the design money, how cool would it be for you guys to help us build it, is the strategy.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, so does the commission feel okay about moving this transportation improvement program to the city council at this point? Or is there any other questions, comments, concerns? No? Okay, so we will need a motion to move it forward. If somebody would like to step up. Okay,
I move to approve the conformity of the proposed 2026-2031 Transportation Improvement TIP program to the comprehensive plan, and further recommend that the city council review the TIP as submitted and proceed to schedule it for public hearing at city council.
okay, do we have a second?
Excuse me, point of order. I'm sorry. What I thought I'd heard Eileen mention, it was a motion to approve. It should be recommending approval to the city council. Is that what was stated?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have a second? Second. Okay, did that make sense, Eileen? Okay. Emily, would you take a roll call vote on this?
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Commissioner Kuntz.
Yes.
Commissioner Cummings.
Yes.
Commissioner Fain. Commissioner Hewitt.
Yes.
Commissioner LaFever. Commissioner Mahalik.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Hope we weren't too hard on you. Okay, now we're gonna move on. Welcome, Christina. We waited for you to talk about the addition to the SMC. Would you like to give a little short?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And my apologies to the commission for running late. I had some elder parent issues that couldn't wait. So thank you and good evening, council. As you may, commission. As you may remember that we voted to recommend passing 2.36 as the commission had discussed to the council. That went before the council at its last meeting on May 27th. In that meeting, the council had expressed an interest in having the commission have the ability to bring items forward that were not mandated by council or directed by staff. And I think that was coming from, a good place, but the conversation that staff had with council at that meeting was allowing boards and commissions to go unchecked because there are finite staff resources, there are finite financial resources, and we all still have other things that we need to do to get our job done. So, Mayor Janice and I had some correspondence after that meeting, and what you see in your packet that is identified as option 1 was his proposal. At the agenda setting meeting that I had with Chairperson Koontz and with Vice Chair Cummings, we had this discussion, and I don't want to speak for you or for Eileen, but the conversation also centered around making sure that not this commission, but commissions in the future and other boards and commissions who may want to have this similar type of freedom not be allowed to run free, and that we have appropriate guardrails in place. And so during that conversation, we had talked about things about the commission voting once a year, optional, to identify 3 things that they may want to pursue that are outside of the direction from staff and that are outside from the direction of council. And so as part of that discussion, we determined that because it still needs to go forward for council blessing and approval, that, depending on what the commission's pleasure was, that it makes sense to bring it forward either before the council has their retreat, which is typically in the spring, May-ish, I think, April, May-ish, or the other option is, again, depending upon what the commission wants to do. If there are studies like short-term rentals was the example that we discussed, there was likely going to be budget impacts to that in the terms of studies and consultants and things like that. And that something like that is a significant lift. And so if the commission were to look at doing something of that magnitude, then it may make sense for the commission, if you choose to do that, to make that decision and recommendation late spring, early summer, in time for the council to consider as part of their budget approval process for the following year. So with that, you have 2 options before you, certainly open to discussion. If the commission decides that it wants something different, we can certainly talk about that. If the commission decides that you are happy with the way things are, that is certainly fine too. I can relay that message to the city council, but staff did not think that it was appropriate to bring this back to the city council without having the conversation with the commission. So with that, I am here to answer any questions or hopefully address any concerns you may have.
Okay, thanks. And I just wanted to add a little bit to that because my understanding per our conversation was that the reason why this came up is that the mayor really wants us to feel like, you know, if there's something that we are passionate about, that we have a voice, and that there could be an avenue to move forward with that rather than just being happy with what's served to us at every meeting.
That is correct. And that is a great way to sum it up. And I would note that it is not just Mayor Janice who feels that way. Councillor Lowe also indicated that, you know, the boards and commissions are the quote eyes and ears of the community. So what we're trying to find a way to do is to balance and recognize that role and still address staffing concerns, financial concerns in a meaningful way that that hopefully serves the purpose.
Okay. So does anybody have any questions on this or need some clarification as to, or how you feel about adding this to the code? And this is the one that is specific to us. This isn't, I know we reviewed two different, we reviewed one that was supposed to govern councils and committees or commissions, and then we had one that was specific to the planning commission. So this is the one, would be added to the one that's specific to the planning commission. Yes, Larry?
I don't have a question, but I will say I kind of like the way things are being done. But if we're going to adopt one of these, option 2 seems to be the most efficient way to approach it once a year. And then get it scheduled, as opposed to if we do it kind of fly by night, and just not a criticism, but just an observation. If we do it periodically, it may make everything less efficient. So that's just my observation and my comment.
Right. And I would agree. And I'll use the example of short-term rentals because that's something that we've been talking about wanting to address that for quite a long time, and it is a heavy lift. So maybe if it was, and it, we'll mention it, but maybe if it was more of a concerted request that is considered by the council and reviewed, like, hey, this is our big ask for the year. It's what we want. This is our Christmas present that we want, maybe it will be a little bit more impactful.
We are supposed to annually have a work program put forth the beginning of the year by the director. We have not had that. And that's when we would discuss potential projects that wouldn't come under option 2. It's just a matter of course. Whereas like with the short-term rentals, option 1 would have worked because it came mid-year. The idea came up, and it didn't have to be something that council did with any immediacy. We wanted to see it put somewhere on the work program. It's just that we haven't seen an efficient workflow process for the last 3 to 4 years. It's been, well, where's our project list for this year? And then nothing went through. So I think option 1 would serve us better because it's a little looser if something comes up in August that we can say, well, we'd like to take a look at that and maybe put it on for the work task for the next year. And that's where we do good of the order also. So we discuss these things.
So what I'm hearing then is that you've not had a work plan or a meeting to discuss those items that you've had on a work plan, and that those items have not been carried forward to the city council. Is that okay?
Yes, that's right.
So then, and I'm asking the question just in the spirit of conversation, is this really something that is broken, or is it something that is just not being used correctly? And maybe we need to try, using the work plan method in the proper way to get that in there, because we're still, even if something comes up in August, we're still going to have budgetary concerns because that has not been addressed. And so if the planning commission The council reviews its budget in November. So the planning commission would want to have its work plan meeting in, say, July, in order for you all to have time to think about those projects, narrow them down, for staff to think about what the financial and staffing impacts would be, bring that to the city council, get a thumbs up or thumbs down on that, and then get that incorporated before the final budget is adopted for the following year. So in my mind, that seems like almost exactly what is being asked, only in a more specific time frame. Am I misunderstanding the concept of the work plan?
I don't think so. It's
Okay.
just that I believe in December, we had asked when it would be submitted, and it was supposed to be coming forward. We've just never annually, we've asked, and we used to put things on the agenda just to keep track of items because
Okay.
these things would just fall away.
Okay.
So I think once the department just starts to operate a little more efficiently, I think it'll work itself out.
So could I be so bold then is to suggest that the commission discuss which meeting in later this year that you want to have this discussion on prioritizing your work plan for the following year. Sorry, Carla. And that, with that time frame, we are able to bring that to the city council for their discussion and consideration for wrapping into the 2026 budget. Because again, right, if you're talking about something that has significant legs, like short-term rentals, staff are going to need to have time to evaluate what the potential costs are going to be, the timelines associated with that, manage our other work associated with the comprehensive plan. And I'm not saying that needs to be the item, but we would still want to have that discussion with the commission, because that was one of the things that I pointed out as well, is that ideally we wouldn't have to have something like this in code, and rather it should be a dialogue of mutual respect between the commission and the staff. And so, again, just throwing that out for discussion.
Eileen?
Yeah, should we be more, I mean, your timeline makes perfect sense and would ensure that our thoughts or ideas are, put in a spot where some action could be taken. If we said within one of these statements or, that we have a planning meeting in July to prepare our work plan for the next 2 years, or year, with staff, I think that would benefit us because, like Karen said, we've been kind of flailing around here, and we might have missed some genius ideas we had. So it would be nice to have, it's set in stone. Okay, July, we're going to have a meeting. We have to do this to get in, if we have any budget concerns, to be part of that. So I don't know where to put that. Do we have anything in our procedures or anything that talks about planning or?
Well, and, we've talked about a work plan, but, part of the collateral damage of the turnover of the DCD directors has been that this is one of the things that, we'll come up with the plan like, hey, okay, we need to do this. And then, by the time we're supposed to be doing that, that director's gone, and we've got a new one, and then we're getting to know that director. So I think that plays a part in.
Sure. And I get that, and I appreciate that as well. But I think, to Eileen's point, if there is, and where to put it, I think is something that if you wanted to do that, I think staff could find a way, but it could be something just as simple as forget option 1 and forget option 2. It could be something just as simple as the Planning Commission will hold a work plan meeting by no later than July 31 every year to discuss upcoming work plan for the following year. Right. And it could be that simple.
Okay. Go ahead, Dennis.
When would be a good time to link this in with the budget discussions that staff will have?
So staff will be having their budget discussions in earnest starting in July. And then finance typically goes back and revisits whether it's any FTE requests or anything like that, usually in September, October. And then it comes to council. Oh, Matt left. So there are multiple meetings where it gets introduced to council. And I think the first one is in end of September, first part of August, but they don't formally adopt it until typically November. So if you do it by the end of July and the commission has their work plan ready, that should be plenty of time for staff review, discussion, budgets. And if we need to come back to the commission and say, hey, here is what we're thinking, the finances say X, your proposal looks like it's going to cost Y, and have that discussion with the commission on whether or not you want to hold firm on that cost and our estimated costs, or whether you want to scale it down, or whatever that would look like. And then we would identify that in the proposed budget.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Larry.
So are we still considering adding this to the code?
Do you mean option 1 or option 2, or the line that just
the
says?
Statement, because I think that the challenge is we've kind of had it informally, and it can easily get pushed away.
And that's what I'm saying, is that it gives the commission, frankly, more leverage if it's in code.
Okay.
And so that's the reason for my suggestion. Absolutely, because then you've got that ability to just say, you know what, we're required to do this. So that's my reason for my thought on that.
Yeah, I do too. I like that idea. That gives us a little bit more freedom. If it's not one of these specific. Yes, Eileen, you had something?
Well, on option 2, it says Planning Commission may once annually discuss. Why don't we say may discuss before June of every annually or something? Can we use this, or should we just get rid of all of that? And we could amend this a little bit if we wanted.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, could we take out the once, like the Planning Commission may annually discuss potential projects? Because I mean, we've got a full plate. It's not like we're going to want to do this every single meeting, but there might, we might get part of it. I don't know. I mean, I feel like.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. And as we talked about in the meeting, right, you guys are very efficient. You're very functional. I am thinking of all of the commissions, all of the folks who may not be as organized and as functional and as efficient as this group is. So that's my thought for that. That doesn't mean, we can certainly revamp it, because I understand your point. You want to be able to have multiple meetings about it before you make a final decision. That makes sense. But, I guess what I want to make clear is that the commission doesn't have to use either of these options. If you are satisfied with saying, the commission will determine a work plan by the end of July every year for council consideration for the following year, that is perfectly appropriate as well. And then you can have as many meetings as you want, as long as you make your decision and have your request done by the end of July. That should give us plenty of time to go through the budgetary process, as I had previously mentioned. And it can, sometimes simple is better.
Okay. Any input? Do we want to go for option 1 or 2 or simplify it? Or not even add anything?
I like simple myself and clear that with the timeline added that it would be annually done every year by the end of July. And that does, that's pretty simple and clear, and we could do that.
Okay. Alex?
My concern is everything moves so slowly and needs so much study and public works or whoever to generate cost projections. Doesn't that all take a really long time?
Yeah, and I think
especially before budget. So
I think that that's what Christina was saying, was that we put our ideas out and then they will determine by the end of July, and then they will determine, okay, if you guys want to look at this, we're going to need to get, this analysis, this is what it's going to cost. So this is more of a plan for us to say, this is what we want to work on. And then they will come back and say, yes, this is possible, or this is how much it's going to cost.
And to be clear on that, the commission's role is not to identify appropriate public works projects, right? It's for land use regulation, for all of those types of things. So the detailed cost estimates and things like that would not be a factor here. The biggest cost estimates would be, staff reaching out to consultants, for example, and I'm going to use short-term rentals again, right? Would be reaching out to other jurisdictions. What consultants did you have? What was the average cost? Reaching out to other consultants. Hey, ballpark figure, what would you give us for this? And we come back with an estimate to, in a month or so and say, you know what, we're being told it's going to cost $200,000. That would be the expectation of the commission.
oh yes, yes. Thank you. Yes, conditional land use is our purview, isn't it? Yes. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? I vote for simple. Just a simple, we'll discuss before July without
Every
every year. We'll at one meeting or at a meeting or something. I don't know.
I would assuming that I get a consensus, or better yet, a vote from the commission, what I can do is that when we prepare, what I'll do is I will send out the language in it. It's probably not going to deviate very much from the Planning Commission will determine its, requested work program by end of July every year for the following year to be considered by the council in the upcoming budget. It's probably going to be that simple. But what I can do, if you want some time to consider it, I can send it out to you. And then if you have concerns or request some wordsmithing, you can let me know individually, of course, and then I can either revise it before it goes to the council, or you can have your conversation during the council meeting as part of that process, right? If you want to send it in and say, I really don't like this, or I do like this, we can make that as part of the council review item, if that makes sense.
Okay. All right. Is everybody on board with that, or? Yeah, okay. Would anybody like to make a motion to have Christina send that out to us, make that change and send it out to us? Don't everybody jump up at once.
I move to allow Christina to put forward a draft language for each one individually to receive, and then she can take the comments forward for council consideration.
Thank you, Karen. Do we have a second? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Nope. Okay,
Wonderful.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Commission. Thank you for your conversation on this. I think it was great.
yeah. It was Eileen, Commissioner Cummins. Okay, so let's move on to our last and possibly our heaviest lift of the night. So, which is the comprehensive plan draft chapter of community character. Is this you, Carla, or Travis?
So I'll introduce it, but it will be both of us. We worked both diligently on this chapter. So for your first real chapter of the comprehensive plan, because last meeting we did the introduction chapter, but that was just setting the stage. So this is the first chapter of the comprehensive plan of element substance. This is an optional chapter, so it's not required by the Growth Management Act. However, it's an important chapter. I made it number 3 because it highlights its importance to how it works in tandem with the land use chapter, which will be chapter 2. And the community character chapter is discretionary policy. So all of these are original and drafted specifically for SQUIM. The staff did spend actually a considerable amount of time drafting it and editing, revising, and making sure that we put our best effort forward for your review. It highlights the values of the city and the community and the sense of place that makes SQUIM distinctive and appealing community. And so with that as the introduction, I would just suggest that you take the similar approach to reviewing the chapters we did with introduction, is just go methodically page by page. And we are very interested in hearing your comments and questions and suggestions to making sure this chapter will, to some degree, will result in some development standards. It provides the policy foundation for like landscaping standards, for example, and architectural building design standards, but it also establishes policy for partnerships and also programs. So with that, I'll stop and turn it back over to you, and we look forward to the conversation.
Okay, thank you. So we'll start with the first page, which is in this packet item is listed as page 3 of 11, but it's the first page of the chapter. Community character. Does anybody have anything on this first page? Yes, Larry.
Just maybe the order. Should this chapter come before land use? Does this drive the land use chapter? Or is this, it seems like this is the overarching umbrella of what the community wants to look and feel like, and then land use is based on this. Just a question.
Sure, I can help kind of clarify that. So the vision statement that we looked at the last meeting in the introduction chapter is actually kind of that overarching broad statement. The community character chapter takes some of those elements and fleshes them out more detail and policies. But I do think, it's certainly your decision if you'd like to switch the chapters. You don't have, no, we're not quite ready to bring the land use chapter to you, so you don't have the benefit of seeing that. And maybe when you see everything, you can make that decision. But the land use chapter does, will have the future land use map and does establish what the future development of the city, the context of how that's going to occur and the different land use designations. And so the community character chapter I felt was following it in a partnership with it, but not necessarily hierarchically, if you think about it, more important than land use. But I do appreciate your point, Larry. So.
Okay. All right. Anything on the first page? I read it and I liked it. I didn't I read it twice just to kind of see if there was anything that I would have changed in the first page, and I don't see anything, so I'm curious if anybody else did that they would like to see different. No? Okay.
I'll just make a comment that on the goals and policies, there is a bullet for districts and neighborhoods, and we actually did end up taking that one out.
Okay.
So if you're wondering where that one is when we start going through it, it's because it doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
Thank you, Travis.
Okay. How about the second page of this, which is page 4 in the packet, but the second page of the document, people and public places. And then the goal and the policies. How about that page? Nothing? Okay. Oh, yes, Larry.
Just in 3.2.1 and in policy CC 1.2, I don't know that the word diversity and diverse are necessary or necessarily fit. I think we're talking about the expression of the community's character. And I think we're talking about development of an intergenerational recreational and cultural programs. It's these words don't seem to fit here. They were almost kind of like, I feel like they were pushed into these two sentences. I know where they're going, but are they necessary?
So are you proposing that it reads support the development of intergenerational and recreational cultural
Yeah.
programs?
To me, intergenerational is diverse. So it's
Okay.
kind of saying diverse, intergenerational. I'm
You're making a point of saying,
yeah. I mean,
diverse.
intergenerational is diverse, right?
right.
So, and the same thing in the community's character.
Okay. How does anybody feel about that? I can go either way. I see what he's saying. It is diverse. So leave it, take it out.
So what you're saying is support the development of intergenerational, recreational, and cultural programs that celebrate Squim's heritage, period. Works for me.
Okay. Anyone else want to weigh in? Okay. All right. Anything else on that page? No? Okay. So let's move on to the next page, which is still some policies. And then we get to entrances, gateways, landmarks, and wayfinding. How about this page? Everybody good with this? Oh, yeah? Okay. We'll move on to, yes, Karen. Yeah, never mind. Got it. Okay. Okay, we'll move on to the next one, which is page 6 of 11. And that's the start of 3.23, which is building and site review. And this goes into goals and policies. How about this? Anything?
Just a quick question. Has the granary been designated as a historic site?
I don't believe it has. No. The granary.
So it could be torn down if they so desired?
The process of remodeling it.
Yeah, like I suppose if they wanted to, but everything that they have been doing so far has been in an effort to maintain and restore and keep it in as much of a prominent focal position as possible in the community. So I think the current owners and I guess developers of it are at least being respective of its place in Squim. So
So it
I'm
might
pretty sure they
last
are on the
through
registry,
comprehensive
actually.
plan.
are they
I'm pretty sure he said that they are, because there was that whole thing with the antennas a couple years ago.
Got it. Okay.
Larry.
To continue, I love the granary. I think it's a fabulous piece of architecture and part of our history. I just don't know if we call them out specifically here because it is a private enterprise now and will be. And we've kind of given them, I think we can just remove the granary itself and say notable community features through site design and orientation. I think we've given them something by putting them here, and there may be other things
Yeah, I
that are as
agree.
deserving without enumerating each one of them. So
Well,
I
and
don't
if
think we
this,
have to give an example.
yeah, and I mean, I love the granary too, and I love what they're doing with it. But I do agree, because if this comprehensive plan is going to carry us for the next 10 years, we don't, I mean, we don't know if they might decide to tear it down. I mean, I don't think they will, but it could happen. So remove the granary. Okay. All right. Anything else on this page? Okay. Let's move on to page 7 of 11, which is still policies. How about this one? And then we start with streets and pathways.
This is the one where we might get the input from the art community for some changes later on to come back.
I think so. I think that, and then actually kind of even further on. Yeah, they're not going to look at every policy ones that are just applicable to their purview, which to be honest, I haven't gone through yet to highlight which ones those are yet, but yes. And,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I was just saying even potentially like 3.22 with entrances, gateways, landmarks, wayfinding, there's opportunities for potentially the art community to get involved with that stuff. But additionally, we'll need some buy-in from Nick and the folks doing the CIPs and stuff, because a lot of that will drive where maybe some of that funding comes from as well. So
Okay.
But we will, when you see this chapter again, you'll see what your changes are to it, and then you'll also see what this is actually a good question to kind of describe what will look like when you see these chapters again. We will color code the revision so you know which body made that revision. So Planning Commission, all the edits that you're identifying when you see the chapter again, we'll have those in there. And then anything that comes from like the Parks board or the arts board will have their own color too, and you'll be able to track throughout the year whoever's touched a chapter what their suggested changes are.
Okay, thank you. All right, anything else on this page? No? Okay. So now we're going to move on to, okay, where are we at here? Page 8 of 11.
And with the streets and the same thing as with the arts, will this go before the engineering department for comments also? So
Yes, thank you. Yes, it will.
Okay. Anything on this page? 8 of 11. I mean, I know we're moving fast, but I will tell you again that I read this twice because I really wanted, and I really felt like it was really well written. And so I didn't see a lot of things that needed to get changed, in my opinion. Okay, so let's move on to page 9 of 11. This is the goal: promote an economically healthy downtown that is unique, attractive, and offers a variety of retail, et cetera, et cetera. How about this page? Like, yes, Larry?
So with our hubs that we're going to be, it's not just downtown, right? I mean, we're going to do the hubs. Do we want to weave that language into it, not just downtown? I mean, And I don't know how to weave that
Great.
language in.
So though you'll see a little bit of that language in the land use chapter, where we'll talk about kind of the edges of the city. And this section here is specifically calling out downtown as a special place for the city.
Did that help or?
Kind of, because I think I think the economic health, we're spreading it out by design. So, I mean, we can leave it as it is. I just see it being a bigger area than just downtown, and it's fine.
I have a question.
Okay. Yes, Eileen.
Do we have a definition of downtown? I mean, is downtown only these blocks, or is it another block, or extended through those hubs that we've been talking about?
But I mean, maybe so the point well taken, that this is a section on downtown. So this should this section be enlarged to talk about the corridor, or the whatever we're calling that
I like
Washington
corridor. That's a good word.
hubs, where we've got the different. Yeah, I don't know.
I like
mean-
that. I mean, we're stuck on downtown, which it sounds like. I mean, my image of downtown is like between Squim Avenue and, a couple blocks on
And
either side.
Tedesco's. Then after Tedesco's,
Right.
it's the far reaches.
I mean,
So
that's in my head.
I don't
but
know.
Yeah, I think if you look at the maps behind you, it's generally like Fifth Ave to Brown is kind of where the spans of our downtown districts are. And that's like historically where for a long time we prohibited like mobile food vendors from operating to protect and preserve the downtown restaurants and things. So that is kind of like generally what has been perceived as like downtown, and then you go off into into like Safeway and more of the regional commercial big box stores, and then kind of the east part of town that was more undeveloped. So
It'd be helpful to put a small little map in this section that kind of shows the downtown and maybe highlights the downtown core zoning district as what we are calling downtown.
I think that's fine. It's just, I was just wondering if we need to expand it beyond
Okay.
what we historically call downtown to a bigger area.
Oh, okay.
This whole chapter, and talk about the economic vitality, talk about the walkability, because we even want walkability further outside the downtown corridor along one of these hubs, right?
So kind of remove the language that pigeonholes us into downtown. Is that what you're?
I think redefine it, I think.
It seems like that's where we're going, is away from, there's going to be just one economic hub to, it's really, I mean, you're not going to walk from the box stores to downtown to the other end of Squim, really, right? We're going to have these little regional.
Right. So are you thinking like, if you look at like goal CC-5, where it says promote an economically healthy downtown that is unique, attractive, and offers a variety of retail, yada, yada. Are you thinking more of something like promote an economically healthy city that is unique, or
whatever we're going to call, I forgot the name that we're using for the three kind of sections where we set different heights for the buildings. There's the downtown, and then we've got a couple of others.
I
Yeah.
think it just to be, Travis clearly has his definition of what downtown is, and the rest of us are kind of vague. And our downtown, the areas that we walk in and where we spend time. So maybe it would be good to, healthy downtown, and just put what the parameters that the planners are going to use.
so like
Be
have a
fr-
map?
Or just say from Brown Street to Fifth or something. And I like I like that word corridor, downtown corridor. But it would be good to get people thinking more than be just downtown Sequim, right around Sequim Avenue. So.
Could you put anything in there that says typically defined from Fifth Avenue to Brown?
Yeah, I definitely can.
Like
And
use Travis's description?
absolutely. And we could put a little, it would, yeah. So we can definitely do that descriptive. And then I think just a couple comments. So we do have an economic development chapter that is going to talk about the other commercial um, areas of the city. And so kind of that economic health and vitality that Larry, you were speaking about kind of at that broader level of citywide or as far as the non-residential zones will be discussed in the economic development chapter. And while that's under development now, it will be informed by the economic market study that we'll be having Leland do as well. And so while we're working on it now, and we may even bring it forward to you over the summer, we'll definitely have some revisions to it based on our data from the market study. And so this section and downtown will actually be talked about maybe in one policy in the land use chapter, as well as the other commercial districts, and kind of that idea of the scenario with the different hubs where it's not just focused on downtown, but on the edges of the city. The purpose of this section was to acknowledge and recognize the special place that downtown has in Sequim's identity and in the community as a gathering place here at the Civic Center and with the farmers market, and the part that it brings to the place that it brings for local businesses. This is, and the support that the downtown Washington Street and downtown brings for a different experience than you would have on the other sides of the city. And I believe that it's valued. The downtown as it is, it's valued. And so that's why there is a special highlighted section for policies for the downtown here, just pulling it out and acknowledging its place as different than our other commercial areas in the city, and the sense of place and identity that it provides for the community. So,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
Yes. Dennis.
I agree with the idea of having a graphic in there that kind of identifies the parameters of this area that we're talking about. I appreciate Larry's comments, but I think those nodes are going to be at a different scale and different form than what we're looking at for downtown. So I think to at least identify to the reader what we're talking about in this section is important.
Okay.
And along with that, there's a lot of suggestions and things to be done in our downtown area. So if somebody comes up, well, I want to do, improve walking, rolling, and biking routes downtown. Well, I want to be over there. And maybe that doesn't fit in the downtown definition. So I think whoever's looking at this, it should just be clear, just like you said.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anything else on that before we move on to the cultural and history resources and landmarks, which is page 10 of 11? Okay, so let's go to page 10 of 11, which talks about the cultural and historic resources and landmarks. I was specifically looking for, and I was glad that you had mentioned the irrigation ditches, because because the festival has been something I've been involved in for so long, and it is so very important to the development of the city. So I was glad to see that in there. Does anybody else have anything on this? No? Okay. Yeah, I thought it was, I liked this section. I thought it was good, that you had mentioned, the historic registers and then also just, the tribe and that this, is that they're a valued partner, as well as, the things such as the vistas and the barns and the ditches that really are something that has been part of this community since before all of us were here. Anything else on that? No? Okay. So then we'll move on to page 11, which is the last one. How about this one? No? I thought it looked good. Any other comments?
Yeah, I just really enjoyed your style of writing.
Yeah,
It
me
was
too.
really clear, understandable. I appreciated it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anything else on this chapter? Nope. Yes, Eileen.
And so this is going to get reviewed by several other groups. And are we going to be looking for things like duplication and or things that are incorporated in different parts of the plan? And or is this going to be like the overall picture and then more details will come up in the different chapters? Seems like a lot. 11 pages seems like a lot.
Oh,
But
this is one of the shorter chapters.
thanks for the warning.
Yeah, thanks for the warning. This was just easing you guys into it. So the meaty chapters are land use, capital facilities, transportation. Nick asked me the same question. I think we have something like, I don't even know, 50 policies for transportation. And he's like, is that normal? I'm like, it's a GMA. That part is, there's a lot that GMA wants in transportation. So I think for this one, the Arts Commission will just have them look at a couple of the policies that kind of relate to their work and just get their feedback and hopefully concurrence on it. And then, and that should be it. Nobody, it will come back to you again. When we have the whole, we're going to go chapter by chapter as we're working on the chapters. We'll be bringing forward the ones that are ready for your review. And then when we complete it all, we'll put it all together and you'll get to see it from beginning to end. And you'll get to look at it again one more time and see how it all hangs together. And I know a little bit of your work right now is feels a little out of context because you don't get to see all of it. So just know that you'll get to see it all together as one document and look and have one. You'll still have multiple kicks at the can to do revisions and edits to it. So know that this is the beginning of the process, but it's it's definitely value, and there is value in looking at the chapter specifically too, and being able to just focus on that one before you get to see all of it together in one document. So.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Dennis.
You may have addressed this at the last meeting, which I missed, but has there been any path forward for the EIS discussion?
We have not addressed that. I appreciate the question. The schedule that I put together has us having public hearings before the Planning Commission in April, or I think it was May, and City Council public hearings in June. The Christine and I haven't fully discussed it and decided, but that schedule would be difficult to have an EIS as part of. And so I do think we're probably going to end up with a supplemental EIS. But I will say that hasn't been fully decided yet. We're just trying to get our legs under us right now and get some of the comp plan written. But I do think we'll need to make the decision on what we're doing in the EIS in September. for, I should say, for the decision on SEPA by September. Yeah, but thank you for keeping that in the forefront of your mind, because it is a big part of the project and it is a big work effort as well.
Okay. Anything else on this chapter before we move on to director's report? No. Okay. Thank you, Carla. And Christina, but Carla for your work, and Travis, you as well.
Thank you, Commission. And I will note that you guys made it through that entire chapter in 20 minutes. So great job. You guys keep this up. We'll get through this in no time. So in looking at the comprehensive plan status update that Carla had provided you earlier, I don't think that there's anything for us to report at this juncture that we want. Yeah, because we already talked about Title 17. We already talked about Leland. So yeah, I would be afraid that I would be duplicating anything that's been said. So
Okay.
with that, if you have any other questions, happy to turn it back over to the chair.
Okay. Any questions for Christina? No? Okay. All right. Thank you. So good of the order. I do have one item for good of the order.
So do I.
Okay. You want to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
I would request that Carla get a name tag that is legible and is not little teeny weeny type. I think since she will be with us, I'm hopeful now, until next year sometime, that perhaps we could afford a real name tag for her.
I can say with certainty that we do not need to take that request to council. I am happy to accommodate that request, and I'm looking at Emily to make sure that that happens.
And if you're ordering one, I could probably use one.
I would even forego the pizza, if we have to.
Thank you for your generosity and for your willing to put some skin in the game. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I do have one item for the good of the order. I know at the last meeting, I had given a brief update that we had 3 applicants for our open commissioner spot, and we discussed it at length. We had 3 very good candidates. All 3 of them were exceptionally strong in different areas. And I did talk to Rachel, our deputy mayor, again yesterday, and we decided that we'd like to recommend a gentleman named Will Habel to the council for confirmation. Will come, he works on the Olympic Discovery Trail and for the county, and he's done quite a bit of planning work in Port Angeles and with the county. So he's got some good experience. He is a resident in Sequim and was able to identify some areas of need. He's able to recognize where we could do some development. And I think that where we're at in the middle of this comprehensive plan, it'll be good to have another somebody that has experience with planning on the commission. So that's who we are going to send to the city council. And that's all I got on for good of the order. Does anybody else have anything for good of the order? No? Okay. Then I know that I refrained from saying that it's Karen's favorite agenda item, but
I make a motion that we adjourn at 7:25.
Second.
okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, meeting adjourned at 7:23. Thank you.